Now the reality check. So all this is happening in a country. For the Bangladeshis, this is not news. For the non-Bangladeshis, this may be news. But all this is happening in a country which has a very large poor population. So 40% of the country lives on less than $1 a day. Bangla literacy is just about 50%. Okay, so which basically means 50% of people have enough to just probably sign their name, not even read newspapers. So when we talk about reading newspapers, this number will probably come down to maybe 30%. Again, we don't have statistics of how many people can read newspapers. Our literacy standard is that we're able to sign our name. And that can be just a pattern that you have over and over learned how to reproduce. English literacy is probably less than 5%. So when we talk about technology, when we talk about social networking, especially in the context of a knowledge society, where the tools that we're talking about, Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth, need literacy, need English literacy, right? I mean, of course, now you can do Facebook in Bangla. I just saw a huge ad on either Daily Star or Guatemala this morning that Grameen Phone wants to convert Facebook in Bangla, so they want to translate Facebook in Bangla. So that was, all happening today. Maybe this conference actually triggered that, I don't know. But there was a huge half-page ad by Grameen Phone. Electricity grid, 27%. It's probably a little bit higher now. And where there is electricity, it's also unreliable. I don't know how many times you've lost power in the last days. Probably not, you have not felt it, because there is a generator. But when I woke up this morning, there was no power in my house for this now. Mobile penetration, we said that 40%, it's a little bit more now, maybe 45% of the population have access to mobile phones. But if you look at family coverage, because one mobile phone is being used by so many different families in a rural area, the family coverage is over 80%, 83% to be exact. And geographic coverage is pretty much the entire country. So which is very important to consider. When we think about social networking, again in the context of not a small population, but in the context of a knowledge society, these are things that matter. Internet I already talked about, but we have seen huge impact. Even with this reality that stares in the face, that nothing is possible in Bangladesh as far as technology is concerned. It's all about food and shelter and basic needs. It's not that. We have transcended beyond the basic needs, and connectivity has also become a basic need for us. We have not made it into a law like several Scandinavian countries have done, but it's becoming very important. The experience of the 4,500 Union Information Centers in the last 3 months teaches that the appetite for connectivity has already shot through the roof. So the small connectivity, the small bandwidth they have, they've already exhausted, and they need more. We're trying to figure out inexpensive means, cost-effective means of getting there. So we have two national strengths that I want to talk about in terms of social networking, in terms of creating a knowledge society. One is being connected. In Bangla we call it samajikota. I don't know what the English. So we're a very social being. Bangladesh is a very social nation. Would like to hang out together, and if technology allows us to hang out together, then it will be great. So that's a very important aspect of our collective DNA, I would say. And there is the youth bulge population, which is more than 30%. A very productive youth that we also need to think about. So the first gentleman talked about that social networking is all about youth. It is not true, but it's still largely about youth. Yeah. I think the youth population gravitates towards social networking because they are the ones who like to hang out, and social networking allows them to hang out towards productive pursuits, not just to have fun, but also create things, contribute to building a knowledge society, contribute to what we call this knowledge society, digital knowledge. So working on national priorities, when I talked about education, developing 21st century skills, I talked about agriculture, where we are delivering information to the farmers at the right time, at the right place. I talked about government's transparency and efficiency increase. That's also happening through some of these tools, some of these philosophical paradigm shift that's happening. We have a new right to information law that was passed about a year and a half ago. So that's also going to be a mandate for the government. All government agencies need to feel obligated right now to actually abide by this law. And that will again create opportunities for social networking. And fun, obviously. I mean, again, as a nation, we like to have fun, and every nation does, but again, that's also an important aspect of social networking. How are the workplaces changing? Again, some of the theoretical background that Dan talked about yesterday, I'd like to touch on some of that. The workplace, as we see it, workplaces, when we think about workplace, we think about buildings. But typically we think that we work in buildings. Most of our fellows in this country don't work in buildings. They work in fields. They work in factories. They work in schools. So when you think about social networking in the context of a knowledge society, again, I want to tie the two together. Social networking in the context of a knowledge society. So when you think about that, then social networking means different things to different people. And that has to be understood. It's not about sitting at a desk and using a desktop or a laptop. Most people in our country don't have desks. They don't need desks. So what is going to be the form of social networking for them? Think about that. And we've seen some examples of that in my presentation, but I think we need to go further. Breaking down traditional hierarchies, very important for Bangladesh. It's a very hierarchical society. The government service delivery machinery is very hierarchical. If you want to see a secretary, you're going to be as good as dead if you come from a village. So some of these tools will break down work practices. So I think that needs to be understood very well. I've talked about a few examples happening only very recently. Cost-effective devices. Again, you have to have tools to be part of the network. If you want to hang out with your friends without technology, then you just need to physically go there. But social networking allows you to hang out without physically moving to a place, and it may be actually cost effective also, because you don't have to use your time and money to actually move yourself to a place. So you can have cost effective social networking if you have access to cost effective devices. So again, devices are coming down in price, and also they are becoming smaller, they are becoming more portable. So that's again another aspect of social networking, contribution to social networking boom. Collaboration increasing in unimaginable ways. This UISC, the Union Information and Service Center blog that I talked about, it was just an experiment. We threw it out and we didn't think that anybody would participate. In the last 6 months, we have 4,000 people contributing content that they're learning from, contributing content that solving problems for real people. And also they're connecting with each other. They have a voice now across the country. So we did not imagine that 6 months ago. The teacher blog that was introduced about 9 months ago, we didn't imagine that teachers would actually use this. Because teachers are technology shy, typically in Bangladesh, school teachers. But because now they don't have to learn Microsoft Word, they don't have to learn how to type, because they can actually do 1 or 2 words typing and then that's all they need to do. They actually use internet content from the internet. Maybe there's a lot of plagiarism happening, I don't know. But what is happening is they're actually changing educational practices. Again, this is only in the beginning. On Sunday, there is going to be a project reviewed by the National Evaluation Committee, which will be connecting about 20,000 schools, secondary schools, with the multimedia classroom that I talked about in the next year and a half. So if that happens, and if we can train, let's say, 2 teachers per school, 40,000 teachers, which is also underway, then there will be an educational transformation happening now.